a burning passion for music, yet unable to afford a guitar. The boy had to build his own, using fireplace wood and bicycle scraps. And from that very guitar, he would go on to shake the world. Today, he owns a multi-million-dollar historic mansion with a private recording studio, an ultra-rare luxury car collection, and has even taken part in a NASA space mission. Yes, this is Brian May, the gifted musician, the legendary guitarist of Queen. A man who not only composed the immortal sound of Bohemian Rhapsody but has also lived a life of color, extravagance, immense wealth, intellect, and controversy, stirring the entire UK. With a net worth of over $250 million, he is more than just an artist. He is a living icon. Are you ready? Step into the extraordinary life of Brian May, where music, science, passion, and luxury intertwine like a one-of-a-kind symphony. Brian May's humble beginnings, a tale of passion and perseverance. In 1947, in the peaceful town of Hampton, West London, a boy named Brian Harold May was born into a modest middle-class family. His father, Harold May, was an aeronautical engineer, a man of technical mind and inventive spirit. His mother, Ruth Irving, was a devoted Scottish woman who dedicated herself entirely to their small family. They lived in a modest house in Feltham, a quiet residential area. Life was not lavish, but it was warm and filled with love. Brian's parents worked hard to ensure their son had an education and the opportunity to chase his dreams. However, with their limited income, luxuries like a Fender or Gibson guitar were far beyond reach. Mere fantasies confined to the pages of catalogs Brian would flip through for hours, as if each glance brought him closer to his dream. Unable to afford a guitar, Brian possessed something even more valuable: intelligence, creativity, and a father who believed in him. Together, father and son built Red Special, the legendary guitar that would accompany Brian for a lifetime. From materials others saw as worthless, wood from an old fireplace, a steel rod from a bicycle, buttons, screws, and handcrafted strings, they created an instrument infused with passion and determination. Every cut, every tiny detail in the guitar bore witness to their meticulous craftsmanship, love for music, and the sheer will to overcome limitations. In those days, Brian had no money, but he had intelligence and creativity. With his father, he took wood from an old fireplace, a steel rod from a bicycle, and built the Red Special, a symbol that would later define him. On cold winter nights, Brian sat hunched over in his small room, with no heating, only the faint glow of a dim yellow lamp casting shadows over the worn wooden desk. His breath turned to mist in the chilly air, his fingers trembled from the cold, yet he persisted, working on every detail of his unfinished guitar. Rotting wood, makeshift strings, loose screws, all discarded by others, but to Brian, they were his last hope of holding onto a dream. No one was there to pat his back. No one promised that his efforts would pay off. But he kept going. Not because he wanted to, but because he had to. He had to, so the dream would not die. He had to, so he wouldn't fade into the silence of a closed-off world. Every faint note that rang out in the stillness of the night was a reminder, even without money, without fame, without anything, he had determination. And that would take him farther than anyone ever imagined. But Brian was not just passionate about music, he was also an exceptional student, especially in science. At Hampton Grammar School, he earned a scholarship, standing out with his sharp logical thinking and remarkable ability to self-learn. What made him unique, however, was not just his love for one field, but two: music and astronomy. His fascination with the stars, the universe, and the vastness of space led him to study physics and mathematics at Imperial College London, one of the most prestigious institutions in the UK. While most of his peers dreamed of stable careers, Brian lived between two worlds. On one side, his homemade guitar. On the other, a self-built telescope. But Brian didn't just love music. He was also captivated by astronomy. He studied physics and mathematics at Imperial College London, dreaming of becoming a scientist. His life was a constant struggle between two great passions, while his pockets remained empty. Such were Brian May's youth years, simple, challenging, yet filled with ambition and intellect. And from that humble foundation, he steadily rose, turning the impossible into reality, one step at a time. After years of studying, building his own instruments, and silently chasing his dream, Brian May entered the first phase of his professional music career. In 1968, he, along with drummer Roger Taylor and his close friend Tim Staffel, formed a band called Smile. They began playing at small clubs, bars, and modest venues around London. One of their earliest performances took place at Molesey Boat Club, a tiny stage by the River Thames. Brian later recalled that this was where the Red Special was heard for the first time before a live audience. A raw sound, an unknown band, but within them, the first sparks of a legend were igniting. They once played at Molesey Boat Club, a humble stage that Brian later remembered as the place where the Red Special first rang out before a crowd. Despite their burning passion, success remained a distant dream. But fate had a turning point in store for them. In 1970, Freddie Mercury, a Zanzibar-born singer with a unique style and an explosive spirit, joined the band. A year later, John Deacon, a talented bassist, completed the lineup. Queen was officially born. At that time, they were not just a band. They were four strong personalities, four completely different puzzle pieces, united by one dream: to create something the music world had never seen before. From their few humble performances, they began to dream bigger. Queen never stopped experimenting. They blended classic rock, opera, pop, Baroque influences, and even science fiction to create music that was both daring and unique. And then, the moment that would define history arrived. In 1975, Queen released A Night at the Opera, featuring the groundbreaking track Bohemian Rhapsody, a 6-minute rock symphony, completely defying the industry norms of the time. Brian May played a crucial role in shaping the song's soul, crafting a guitar solo that was fluid, intricate, and emotionally breathtaking, a sound that stunned the entire world. The song topped the UK charts for 9 consecutive weeks, opening the doors for Queen's global domination. From a boy who couldn't afford a guitar, Brian May now stood on the world's biggest stages, listened to, admired, and living the music he once only dreamed of on freezing nights. The greatest performance of all time. Then came the pinnacle of their career, Live Aid 1985, the legendary charity concert, hailed as the greatest musical event of the 20th century. At Wembley Stadium, before over 70,000 people and more than 1 billion viewers worldwide, Queen, Brian, Freddie, Roger, and John delivered a 20-minute performance that shook the very fabric of pop culture. Brian May stood there, his lifelong companion, the Red Special, in hand, gliding through each note with precision, passion, and sheer command. Below him, a sea of people sang along to every word, every phrase, merging into one unforgettable moment in history. Brian later said about that night, "I felt like the whole world was singing with us." That was the moment he knew. The dream had become reality. Critics later called it the greatest live performance of all time. Queen didn't just rock Wembley, they touched the hearts of an entire planet. A legacy that transcends time. From that moment on, Queen became a global cultural icon. They have sold over 300 million albums worldwide, a staggering number, yet still unable to fully measure their impact. In 2001, they were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. By 2018, they received the Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award, a testament to their timeless influence and defiance of conventions. As for Brian May himself, he was ranked 26th on Rolling Stone's list of the 100 greatest guitarists of all time in 2011. Not just for his technique, but for the unique voice of his guitar, for the soul he poured into every note. From a boy who had to build his own guitar to play music, to a legendary artist who made millions cry and rise to their feet in awe, Brian May's story is one of inspiration. A tale the whole world knows, and one that no one will ever forget. And this is only the middle of the story. From Queen's dazzling stages, Brian May not only earned glory but also built a luxurious empire, one that any of us, who once dared to dream big through difficult days, can't help but admire. Imagine this. From freezing winter nights with a homemade guitar in a tiny room, he now lives in multi-million-dollar mansions, drives high-speed machines, and might be watching the sunset from a magnificent yacht. Today, we step into Brian's world of luxury, where talent meets extravagance, and where every detail tells the story of a rock and roll legend and brilliant scientist. The mansion in Windlesham, Surrey, a rock star's palace of astronomy. Let your mind travel to the peaceful countryside of Surrey, where Brian May's Windlesham mansion stands as a masterpiece amid nature. Located 25 miles from London, this is where he finds peace after years of wild performances. The mansion spans over 2,000 square meters, featuring 8 lavish bedrooms, deep red velvet-covered beds, gold-embroidered Italian silk curtains, and black marble bathrooms imported from Tuscany, with gold-plated showers spraying water like a rock symphony. The interior, paneled with antique oak, surrounds Brian's office, where he composes music under the glow of Swarovski crystal chandeliers. The gallery preserves treasures, 19th-century tin toys, a 2-meter-tall Star Wars ship model, and limited-edition guitars. The 4-acre garden includes an infinity pool and a tropical greenhouse filled with rare orchids. Beneath the estate lies a state-of-the-art recording studio with gold-plated mixing consoles, where he has recorded Queen's demos. A typical house in Windlesham costs around £1 million, but Brian's mansion, with its pool, studio, and rock history, is valued at £5 million, a true rock and roll legacy. The Kensington home, a Victorian palace for a rock gentleman. Before Surrey, Brian lived in Kensington, West London, an upscale area with cobblestone streets. His Grade II-listed Victorian mansion featured a black marble living room, where he hosted parties with Bordeaux wine and Queen's music playing through 24K gold speakers. His 2-story library housed ancient astronomy books and the original Bohemian Rhapsody manuscript. The wine cellar stored 3,000 bottles of Tuscany's finest, while his Queen memorabilia room displayed Freddie Mercury's outfits. The private cinema, with red velvet seats, added to the grandeur. But on July 12, 2021, a flood destroyed the basement, washing away priceless memorabilia. Heartbroken, Brian said, "It felt like an invasion." He left London to find peace in Windlesham. Before the flood, the house was valued at £7 million, but with its lavish upgrades, rumors suggested it was once worth £11 million, a palace fit for the writer of We Will Rock You. The car collection, a rock star's speed machines. Brian's luxury isn't confined to his homes. He loves speed, and his car collection is a testament to his unyielding rock and roll spirit. Machines that are not only fast but also dazzling, reflecting his journey from poverty to Queen's Peak. Mercedes-Benz S65 AMG, the V12 beast of a rock star. First is the Mercedes-Benz S65 AMG, a V12 beast with 621 horsepower, as powerful as Brian's guitar in Bohemian Rhapsody. The interior is wrapped in premium Napa leather, soft as velvet, with hand-stitched details glowing under ambient LED lights. A Burmester 24-speaker system plays Queen's music like a live concert, turning every drive into a moving stage. The walnut-wood dashboard features dual 12-inch screens that display images of stars, a detail Brian personally requested to honor his passion for astronomy. Imagine him driving through Surrey, his wild curls blowing in the wind, the engine roaring like the intro to Tie Your Mother Down. A standard S65 AMG costs $200,000, but with Brian's customizations, rumors say its value reached $300,000, a machine fit for a legend. Lotus Esprit, the free spirit of an artist. Next is the Lotus Esprit, a British sports car with a sharp, angular design, as bold as a rock anthem. The glossy black body, chrome-trimmed edges, gleam like stage lights. The interior features premium black leather racing seats, offering a sense of freedom, just like Brian's fingers gliding over the red special. The classic analog dials and handcrafted leather steering will evoke the 70s, the golden age of Queen. Brian once said he loved driving along coastal roads, feeling like he was flying on stage. A classic Lotus Esprit costs around $100,000, but with its history and Brian's love, it's a priceless gem in his garage. Jaguar XJS 1976, the elegant icon of a rock gentleman. Lastly, the 1976 Jaguar XJS, a symbol of British elegance, perfect for a rock star with a refined taste. With a smooth V12 engine, a gleaming chrome body, and leather interior as soft as velvet, it exudes nobility. This was likely the car Brian drove to elite parties, where he was both a musician and a scientist. Its engine purrs like a ballad, but with a tap on the gas, it roars like We Will Rock You. A classic XJS costs $80,000, but in Brian's collection, it's a $1 million masterpiece. A rock star's high society life. From hardship to nobility, Brian may now enjoy his life as a true British aristocrat, but with his own style, extravagant yet deep, reflecting his soul as an artist and scientist. He frequently attends concerts at the Royal Albert Hall, sitting in VIP boxes, enjoying symphonic masterpieces under crystal chandeliers. At Tate Modern, he admires abstract paintings with champagne in hand. He is often seen at BAFTA award ceremonies, standing out in his signature wild curls and black velvet suit. Fine dining is also an essential part of his lifestyle. At Windlesham, he hosts lavish dinner parties, where Michelin-starred chefs serve truffle butter lobster, wagyu steak, and gold leaf chocolate mousse. Every dish is paired with rare wines from his cellar, like Chateau Margaux 1982, poured into Baccarat crystal glasses, sparkling in candlelight. Brian once said, "A great meal is like a song. Every flavor is a note in perfect harmony." At home, Brian finds peace in his breathtaking 4-acre garden. He relaxes by the infinity pool, strumming his acoustic guitar, or reads astronomy books under an ancient oak tree. Sometimes, He steps into his tropical greenhouse, surrounded by rare orchids, seeking inspiration for new music, a space both poetic and scientific, just like him. A rock star with a golden heart. But Brian doesn't keep his wealth to himself. He actively gives back, using his influence and fortune to create change. He founded Save Me Trust, fighting against fox and badger hunting in the UK, and has been vice president of the RSPCA since 2012. He also supports the Mercury Phoenix Trust, raising millions for HIV/AIDS, continuing Freddie Mercury's legacy. As a co-founder of Asteroid Day, he raises awareness about asteroids and even collaborates with NASA, a testament to his brilliance and compassion. From eating cheap fish in a tiny flat, Brian May now lives like British royalty, mansions, luxury cars, yachts, and an elite lifestyle. But he doesn't just indulge, he makes a difference. And as we will see in the next chapter, his journey is far from over. Beyond the stage lights, beyond the thunderous applause and the millions of records sold, Brian May did not choose to live a secluded life or merely indulge in his wealth. He continued to write new chapters in his life, with intellect, compassion, and a sense of responsibility toward the community. Investment mindset, spreading passion. Brian May is not just an artist, he is also a shrewd investor. Instead of chasing market trends, he chooses to invest in his own passions and turn them into a legacy for future generations. One of his most cherished projects is Brian May Guitars, a company specializing in producing official replicas of the legendary Red Special. These guitars are not only visually stunning but also uphold the philosophy of craftsmanship, creativity, and quality, bringing Brian's signature sound into the hands of fans worldwide. Red Special is no longer just a distant legend, it is now an instrument that inspires thousands of young people to dream of music. Additionally, he has invested in real estate and the publishing industry through his company London Stereoscopic Company, a unique enterprise specializing in classic 3D photography. What once seemed like a niche passion reserved for academia has now become a bridge connecting art, science, and the modern public. A heart for the community, light after loss. After the passing of his dear friend and bandmate Freddie Mercury, Brian did not fall into despair. He took action. Together with the remaining members of Queen, he co-founded the Mercury Phoenix Trust, an international charity fighting HIV/AIDS. To date, this organization has raised over $16 million, supporting hundreds of projects across more than 50 countries. But Brian didn't stop there. With his deep love for nature, he founded the Save Me Trust, an organization advocating for wildlife protection, especially against fox and badger hunting in the UK. He also served as vice president of the RSPCA, Royal Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, from 2012, until he decided to step down due to disagreements with the new leadership. Brian once said, "We cannot call ourselves human if we ignore the suffering of other living beings." Beyond these efforts, he has supported numerous other charities, including Teenage Cancer Trust, supporting teenagers battling cancer; Nordhoff Robbins, promoting music therapy for patients; ABC Trust, nurturing young musical talents in Brazil. In 2003, Brian performed at the 46664 event organized by Nelson Mandela, raising awareness about the HIV/AIDS epidemic in Africa, once again using music to spread a message of compassion to the farthest corners of the world. Intellect, a journey from the stage to the universe. Few people know that Brian May is not only a legendary musician but also a true scientist. In 2007, after nearly 30 years of pausing his academic work due to music, he returned to complete his PhD in astronomy at Imperial College London. But he didn't stop there. He continued contributing to research studies, publishing scientific books, and co-founding Asteroid Day, an international awareness day about the potential dangers of asteroids to Earth. Even more astonishingly, he directly collaborated with NASA on the OSIRIS-RX mission in 2023, a space project that successfully brought samples from the asteroid Bennu back to Earth. Brian not only contributed scientifically but also helped create 3D imagery to assist in analyzing the asteroid's surface. A rock musician performing in front of millions, and at the same time, mapping space for NASA scientists. Only Brian May could do that. From 2008 to 2013, he served as the honorary chancellor of Liverpool John Moores University, continuously inspiring students on the intersection between art and science. At over 70 years old, Brian May still lives without limits, learning, contributing, and inspiring others. He is living proof of a simple yet profound truth. When talent meets passion, and both are guided by a kind heart, there are no limits to what a person can achieve. Brian May, beyond the spotlight. Despite having a legendary music career and an admirable fortune, Brian May's life has not always been glamorous. Behind the stage lights are losses, wounds, and dark moments that he had to overcome on his own. In 1976, Brian married his first wife, Christine Mullen, and they had 3 children. But their marriage did not last forever. As his career grew busier and the temptations of an artist's life became stronger, their relationship began to crack. Rumors spread when Brian publicly became involved with actress Anita Dobson, who later became his lifelong partner. Their divorce in 1988 was tumultuous. The press scrutinized every detail, and fans criticized him. And just as his personal life was in turmoil, even greater shocks came his way. By the late 1980s, Brian May fell into a deep depression. The death of his father, Harold, his closest companion, the man who helped him build the Red Special, left him devastated. Then, in 1991, Freddie Mercury, the soul of Queen, his soulmate, passed away due to AIDS. Brian nearly collapsed. He once shared, "That was the darkest period of my life. I felt like I lost everything. My family, my friends, my music, even myself." At times, he even considered death as an escape. But instead of letting the darkness consume him, he chose to rise. Music had saved him once, and it would do so again. Battling more than just emotions, his challenges were not only emotional but also physical. In 2020, amid the global pandemic, Brian was hospitalized after experiencing chest pain. Doctors diagnosed him with a mild heart attack, discovering 3 blocked arteries. An emergency surgery saved his life, with 3 stents placed in his heart. But it didn't end there. In 2024, Brian suffered a minor stroke, affecting his left hand, the very hand he uses to play guitar. For a guitarist, this is the ultimate nightmare. Yet, in a video message to fans, he smiled, his silver hair and resolute eyes unwavering. "I can still play guitar. I won't stop." A man who never backs down. Beyond personal struggles, Brian May has also faced public controversies, as he never hesitates to speak up for what he believes is right, even when it leads to misunderstandings or backlash. In 2015, he openly criticized UK Prime Minister David Cameron for attempting to relax the ban on fox hunting. He called pro-hunting lobby groups a bunch of liars, angering many conservative fans. But Brian never backed down. "Silence in the face of evil is a form of complicity," he once said. In 2019, he was criticized for still following director Bryan Singer on social media after Singer faced sexual abuse allegations. When a fan protested, Brian responded, "Everyone is innocent until proven guilty." His words were seen as insensitive, forcing him to issue an apology, clarifying that he never intended to defend wrongdoing of any kind. A year later, in 2021, he faced backlash again over an alleged controversial statement about the Brit Awards' decision to remove gender-based categories. Though he later insisted that his words had been distorted and reaffirmed his support for the LGBTQ+ community, the incident left a lasting impact. In 2024, Brian announced his resignation as vice president of the RSPCA, the UK's largest animal welfare organization, after discovering that its RSPCA Assured program had been certifying substandard farms. Once again, he chose to uphold his principles rather than stay silent for the sake of reputation. A warrior, an artist, a man who refuses to surrender. From Wembley Stadium in 1985 to hospital beds in 2020, from the heights of fame to the depths of despair, Brian May has always remained himself. The wounds of life did not break him. Instead, they deepened his music, his words, and the gaze of a legend who has lived through both light and darkness.